Hey guys, what's going on? Scouse here. I'm joined to my left from Nate. Down below we got Shadow. And we want to welcome you to our second episode of our career retrospectives. Nate, you want to announce who we are going to be going over this week?
Absolutely. So I do hope y'all came to play tonight, because I definitely came to play tonight. We're doing the awesome one, The Miz. And it looks like it's going to be a really good discussion from what I can gather. There's a lot to talk about with this guy that might not be immediately noticeable on the surface. He's a very polarizing guy for a lot of reasons, but I think we're going to be diving into this pretty good tonight. I'm excited for it.
Before we start, if you are watching this video on YouTube after we post it, just hit a like and subscribe. But who does everybody want to see for our next episode? We're leaving it up to you guys. Next week.
So,
go ahead.
We're gonna be doing an AEW superstar next week. We're gonna go a little bit different. So we're gonna target an AEW superstar. Whoever we either see the most, or whoever gets the most likes, comments, upvotes, whatever, we'll do that. Whoever the superstar is.
What's your thoughts, Shadow?
1 sec.
As he disappears. So we got one person already saying John Moxley.
I think Moxley's not that first choice either, but we'll see what the fans have to say over the next few days.
And once I
like it.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll do is once we get the names in here, I'll drop a poll on YouTube on Twitter so we can get some good votes on there too and see what's going on.
Yep.
All right, so start us off, Nate, with the Miz.
All right, so to kind of give you guys just as brief as I can be about this man's career, because he's done a ton. We all know that he was a reality star. He was on The Real World. He was also on a bunch of other reality shows. I can't even think of any of them off the top of my head, but his Miz persona was actually created by him on The Real World to as a professional wrestling character, and he wasn't a wrestler yet. And he actually, caught eyes from a company called UPW, which is Ultimate Pro Wrestling. They're based out of California. Ultimate Pro Wrestling has had a lot of big names come through in its day. Edge and Christian are alumni from there. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, the Road Warriors, Diamond Dallas Page, just tons of big names went through there. And he actually went there before he went to WWE. And when he went to WWE, they signed him to a developmental deal after he was on Tough Enough. He was on Tough Enough, and he actually didn't win. He was a finalist, he was a semifinalist, but he didn't win. But they liked his work ethic, and they liked his dedication, and they loved his character. So they signed him to a developmental deal. Anyways, the guy who won, Daniel Puder, I think is how you say his name, he was gone in less than a year from developmental. He was cut, fired, gone out of WWE. And The Miz is still here in 2022. So he came up on SmackDown in 2006, and ever since then, he's pretty much been full-time. He hasn't missed much time at all, aside from that one time when he had that knee injury a couple of years back. And even then, he was still making regular TV appearances to further feuds and, put over younger talent and do his Miz TV segments. The dude is as dedicated as they come, in all honesty.
That was the most recent time with John Morrison, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. That's the only time he's missed an extended period.
Where he was in the wheelchair and he was using the water guns and everything else.
Yep.
That was fun, though. That was still a fun time.
There were times where he'd miss like 5 or 6 weeks to go film a movie, but it was always a WWE studio movie, and he just came right back and was right back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the course of his career, he's actually won a lot more titles than I thought he did. He is a 2-time WWE champion, 8-time Intercontinental champion, second to only Chris Jericho, 2-time United States champion, an 8-time tag team champion with 5 different partners. He won the Money in the Bank ladder match in 2010, and he won the briefcase off of Otis a couple years back. 14th overall Grand Slam champion in the company's history. First ever 2-time Grand Slam champion, which means he won all 4 titles on the Grand Slam list at least twice. and he was also the mixed match season 1 winner with Asuka. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he was he teamed up with Asuka. There was Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss and Charlotte and
Team Little Big.
Yeah, Team Little Big.
Charlotte was with AJ Styles. Just
AJ Styles.
a little hint about the OC connection.
Yup. And he actually is one of the very few people who can say that they.
Oh.
WrestleMania 27. So yeah, the dude he's been around. He's been around forever. He's got all kinds of accomplishments. But what we can really dive into now is our own opinions on the guy. So I can start over with Shadow here. Shadow, we're going to talk about his in-ring skills. What would you describe The Miz as in-ring style?
Watching The Miz for the last 14 years on my TV, just give it or take, that's how long he's been on our TV at this point.
16. I'm just letting you know, it's 16. You don't want to shortchange him 2 years of his career.
Well, I started watching him in 07.
Okay.
So, anyway. But since then, I've watched his skill develop well in the ring. He's become one of a ring general, if you will. He can carry a match now. Especially in the last 8 years, he's been able to carry high-profile matches. Carry storylines like nobody else. But in the ring, he's just a solid worker. You can't argue with him, and he's very he doesn't get injured very often, so he's very careful with how he moves around.
So on a scale to 10,
I give him a solid 6.5.
okay. Scales?
So I think The Miz has developed probably into one of the most trusted members of the WWE roster in regards to people who work with him. Like, he can be put into any spot, work with anybody, and they know that he's going to either, one, get a great match out of them, or two, make sure they're protected and make sure that it's a safe experience for everybody involved. I think when he started out, you saw his little, like, he thought he was the best and he was making mistakes, doing everything, and he has grown so much from then till now. So if we were basing it off of how he was for the first couple years of his career, it probably would be in the low 3s or 4s. But based off of everything that he has accomplished throughout his career and how he has grown, I'm going to give him a solid 7.5.
I like that. So, I mean, yeah, The Miz works a very safe, conservative style, and as a result of that, he doesn't get injured. He had one freak injury over the last 16 years that put him on the sidelines for a little while. And, you know, that's in 16 years, that's phenomenal to only happen one time. He can work with pretty much anybody that you put him in the ring with and up his game to match them. And he can also be trusted to put over new people who might not even have in-ring experience. Bad Bunny, Logan Paul. Like, he made them look absolutely fantastic when he worked with them. And because of that, both of those men are on a higher level of respect from the fans and the locker room. And that Miz deserves a lot of that credit because he knows how to work with people. He knows how to put over people. His selling is so underrated. I would give him a solid 7.5 out of 10 also.
In regards to the two that you were mentioned with Bad Bunny and Paul, they actually put the work in, so you got to give them credit as well to the way they did it. But he made them look like they were in the business for 5-6 years.
Yes. And so this is going to be the one that I think we might even all have close to the same agreement on. His promo skills. Gals, if you want to start with this one, go for it.
10. Probably one of the best in the business.
Okay.
I mean, there's just been so many promos that just put him way above the rest of them. And yes, he does the same shtick every week. He does the Miz TV, and it can get tiresome. But he just knows how to reinvent himself through the promos, and it just works so well.
Absolutely. Shadow? A 9? Okay.
Because sometimes his voice irks the shit out of me.
Fair
I
point.
can
Fair point.
But no, realistically, I'm still sitting at a 9. But realistically, he can carry. He can literally do a story from the mic and make you truly hate him or truly love him. Like he's one of the very few that can blur the lines between reality and wrestling when it comes to his mic skills. So, to me, it's a 9 because that voice just I can't sometimes. But realistically, like especially what he's doing right now with Dexter Lumis, like they haven't had a match, but this storyline's been going on for what? I went to Raw 2 months ago almost at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's been about 10. It's been about 10 weeks, I would say.
And they've not wrestled once, and the story between them is amazing.
And we're still just focused in on it. We're looking for Dexter Lumis every week.
Like that's a credit to Loomis as well, but like Miz is able to carry it and cut promos on Loomis who doesn't speak.
I honestly don't think anyone else could have helped introduce Loomis to the main roster crowd better than Miz. I don't think anybody could have.
Johnny Gargano.
I was just going to say, the only other person is the one they just introduced into the story as well. And that would be Gargano.
But, like, overall, Miz had a whole rap scene with Morrison. Like,
which had no business being that funny.
No, had no reason even being that good. But,
it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
hey, ho, Scal's gotta go.
Bye.
But overall, yeah, he's a solid performer on the mic. It's hard to argue that.
So I agree completely. I feel completely confident in saying this. I give him a 10. I put him up there with guys like Dusty, with guys like Stone Cold, with guys like Punk, who are elite mic workers. I believe that he is just as good on the mic as anyone else that's ever been in the business that's not named Paul Heyman. I think he has plenty of elite, memorable, like, iconic promos that we'll go over those later. I'm sure we're going to. But the dude is legitimately one of the best mic workers to ever grace professional wrestling. So I give him a 10.
It's hard to argue with any of our assessments on this one.
So this is going to be the interesting one for me. Probably the most interesting and maybe most divisive. I'm not sure about it yet. It's babyface work. And so I will actually kind of start this one off. So the Miz is a natural heel. We all know this. It's because of, his background and, the uphill battle that he had to face from the beginning. So over the years, he has actually gained the respect of the WWE Universe, of the fans, of the locker room, and he's one of those guys that you want to get behind. But it just doesn't feel right to get behind him. So even if they do turn him babyface, it doesn't work very well for a very long time. His feud with Shane McMahon was just super weird to me, because I'm like, The Miz is not a babyface to me. But when he is a babyface, he's actually semi-decent at it, but he's not like a Daniel Bryan type babyface or a Eddie Guerrero type babyface or Rey Mysterio, but he's decent, so I give him a 6 on that.
I don't even know where to start with this. The bulk of his work, and the best part of his work, is when he's a heel.
Yes.
He's had his babyface times, but they are not the ones that are as memorable as everything he's done as a heel.
Right.
And that's part of the problem, is you don't remember them. So it's hard to describe how good he actually was within those. Because everybody goes back to some of the best things that he's done in regards to with Damien Mizdow when they were both together. And that's probably the only one that I really remember of when he was a babyface, when he was with that. And it wasn't even a true babyface; it was like a tweener.
Right. It was just because it was so over with the crowd.
Right. It wasn't meant to be the babyface, but it turned into that. And then he got turned on by who was the
Maurice normally.
no? I just saw this earlier today. There was a female involved in it. It wasn't Maurice.
Yeah.
Yeah, shush. Where she turned on him, went towards Mizdow, and then turned on Mizdow again. So it was like a double turn. But I think like his babyface work to me, it's like a 4.5.
I could see that. Shadow.
This is babyface work is a 2 for me.
Ooh.
That was a big explanation. And as a heel, 9.9.
She's saying 9.9 as a heel.
Now,
So,
I'm not giving him full 10, but I'm giving him 9.9.
so, I mean, we'll dive into that too. So, Shadow, explain your 9.9 heel rating for him.
This man can get you so heated in the. He had a little girl being pissed off when he cashed in his first ever Money in the Bank. Like he
Angry
pissed
Miz
off
girl.
everybody that night in 2010 when he cashed in on Randy Orton. Like you knew it was coming, but he did it in such a sneaky way. Even Ed can't even touch that one.
It probably was
And,
the
like,
second best cash in of all time, in my opinion.
Again, when I say that he is so good at blurring the lines between wrestling and reality, when he is a heel, he can make you truly hate the person.
And the reason that you believe that he believes every word that he's saying.
But that's it. Even if he doesn't believe it, he sells it with such conviction that he believes what he is saying that he makes you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the ultimate heel that you can have.
Makes you believe. Okay. Scals?
I want to say you want to go with a 10 because of how good he was, but I'm going to lean with a 9 on this one. Just because they're like Shadow was saying, he gets to the point where you just want to turn off the TV because you're so pissed at him. But that's what makes him a great heel, because he makes you hate him with everything he does. Probably for the first 6 years of his career, I could not stand The Miz. Like, I hated seeing him on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just grown to appreciate everything he has done. So, he gets a 9 for me.
So I will probably give him a 9.5 personally. I do put him up there with the top heels in the history of pro wrestling. You know, guys like Roddy Piper, Edge, Randy Orton. You know, those guys that when they were on screen, they just pissed you off, and they were so good at it that it made your blood boil. That is The Miz. He is the epitome of what a heel should be, because even guys like Edge and Randy Orton and Roddy Piper, they got cheered quite a bit because they were so. They could blur that. How do I say this?
You blur the lines between
enough with the crowd that you're like, oh, we know this guy's not really a bad guy. I guess is what I'm saying. But with The Miz, he's so good at it. You're like, this guy's an asshole. Like, I hate this guy so much. I mean, you guys both talked about it, and because you believe that he is that person, and that's where he blurs those lines. Yeah.
No, I was saying believe.
Oh yeah, believe. Yeah, so I would give him a 9.5 based on his pure believability as a heel, because some people lack that, and he does not lack that, and he's an iconic heel.
His credibility as a heel is just insane.
Oh yeah,
Like, it is off the chart.
and so that is where we can kind of segue into the next area here, and because I'm guessing that your biggest non-match moment from The Miz is going to be a promo of some sort. That's just my guess.
That's
So-
what I mean.
I think we all probably might have chose a promo. I'm not sure. So I'm going to let Shadow go first on this one, and then Scals can go. So, what is your
Well-
favorite non-match moment that
Did-
the Miz has had?
Did you want to do the overall body of work? Because I think you missed that.
Oh yeah, we could do that.
Hold on,
So I
Shadow.
guess. Sorry, that was my bad. So his overall body of work, I guess. The babyface thing kind of hurts him. He's not going to be on the level of guys like, technical wise, his in-ring work. He's not going to be on the level of guys like Shawn Michaels, like Owen Hart, like Bret Hart. As much as I hate Bret Hart, he's not the greatest technical wrestler of all time, and that holds him back a little bit. But he can still work with a lot of people, and combine that with his heel work. I'd say overall his body of work is an 8 out of 10, and I might be being a little generous, but
I'd go 7.
7.
I say, based off of the heel work and his promo skills, I'm giving him an 8.25.
Okay.
And I'd say we're first.
You went 9.9, dude.
I think his heel work. I think his heel work and his promo work definitely elevate it for me. His heel work and his promo work are so iconic. It brings him up to that upper echelon, that 8 or higher to me, in my opinion.
Right.
So, Shadow, your favorite non-match Miz moment? What would that be?
It comes in 2019 with his feud with Shane McMahon.
Ooh, okay.
Had a promo that was so real that it's arguably one of the best promos he's ever cut in his career. He went absolutely deep diving into Shane McMahon, calling him trash, etc., stuff like that, referencing him as he felt so bad for Vince McMahon for having him as his only son, stuff like that. It was so real, and it was just great. And then my honorary mention is the Talking Smack segment with Daniel Bryan.
Bastard.
Because that was genuine heat.
And Shadow just stole my non-match moment.
I'm glad we all picked different favorites though, so I like that. Go ahead, Giles.
Mine was the talking smack between him and Daniel Bryan. It just was so real because everything that he was saying, he truly meant it. And he truly believed it at the time that Daniel Bryan was doing everything he possibly could to avoid getting back into the ring with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like he was just purposely it just was so good. Like I can watch that anytime I see it pop up.
And I don't know. It blurs that line too, because you don't know if Renee Young is sitting right there. She's like, okay, whoa, we don't need to go like this. You're like, is she being for real, or is this I don't know if this is real or not.
It was definitely a shoot promo.
Yeah. And, oh my God, so iconic. That was the only you think about Talking Smack. That little segment that they did, that post-show segment they did after SmackDown.
That was amazing.
Name another segment that's even close to that level from that. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I want to say...
Maybe Sean Brett, but that's not even that close.
Right.
I want to say Paul Heyman on one of the most recent ones that they used to do with him and Kayla Braxton. I think he had a really good one on there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would probably be the only thing, and that's just because Paul Heyman is just so good on the mic.
Yeah, Paul Heyman is in a different... there's guys who cut the best promos ever who are 10s, and then there's Paul Heyman who's a 12.
Right.
So, oh, God.
Paul Heyman, in that category.
Yep. So, my favorite non-match moment is also a promo, but it's a different promo than both of yours. So, August 21st, 2017... Roman Reigns and John Cena are in the ring. Out comes The Miz. He was the Intercontinental Champion. He had Maurice and The Miz Taraj with him, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. And the crowd was booing him to hell until he opened his mouth and started talking. And he said, "How many moments do you two get?" Honestly. And the crowd, immediately was right behind him. They're like, "You're right. Fuck these two. Roman and John Cena suck." They were booing the hell out of him, and the second he said that one sentence, they were immediately behind him. And, I can't even do the promo justice by quoting any of it, because it's just so good from beginning to end. I highly recommend going and watching it on YouTube because they do have the whole thing on YouTube. WWE's YouTube channel does. I watched it like 5 times the other night just to see how much if the impact lessened and each time, and it didn't. It was still just holy shit.
I've done that with the Triple H promo with CM Punk since CM Punk's come back. I've done that like every once in a while. I'll just go throw that back on because of how much it actually resonates now to what happened recently with CM Punk and how Triple H was right on the nose with everything he said.
So the crowd like immediately got behind him, and by the time he was done cutting that promo, the crowd was like screaming for him. They were all in on this guy, and that was probably the moment where at that point it had been 10, 11 years of The Miz just pissing me off. I'm like, you know what? I fucking like this guy. Like, that was it for me. That was that moment for me, and I remember watching it live, too. Just, wow, something else, man. Illegitimately one of the best promos in the history of Raw, in my opinion. But how many Miz promos can we throw up there? There's 3 that you just mentioned.
There's so many. There's so many.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot you can probably put up there. That'll stand the test of time.
Right. So what might not be quite as easy as figuring out, because of his in-ring style, is figuring out a favorite match from The Miz. This one took me a minute. So, Scals, did you manage to find one?
I did.
You thought was your favorite Miz match?
My favorite Miz match was the Fatal 4-Way at Extreme Rules 2016.
Motherfucker. Yep.
With Cesaro, KO, and Sami Zayn. It just highlighted everybody's in-ring technique, everybody's personality just highlighted everything so perfectly.
Oh yeah.
It could possibly be all 4 of theirs best match in a ring, for the multi-man match, not a singles.
Right.
But I just think that was probably the best match that I've ever seen The Miz be in.
Shadow?
So mine comes from 2018, and it's The Miz versus Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania.
That's a good one.
I felt like that was just a great match between the 3 of them, and I believe if I remember correctly, the Intercontinental title was. And obviously, everybody knows The Miz is literally a workhorse of the IC belt, and to me, those 3 demonstrated why they all deserve to be champions in their own right. But the Miz, that's just my favorite Miz match, other than his cash in on Randy Orton in 2020.
Right. So my fun fact, I guess, The Miz has not held the Intercontinental title since he lost it that night. It's been 4 freaking years, and that just blows my mind.
Really?
But yeah, he hasn't held it since then. My favorite Miz match is also that Fatal 4-Way from Extreme Rules 2016. That match was just wild from start to finish. They told so many great stories. They kept up with the KO and Sami Zayn beef the way that we needed. Miz and Cesaro had their own thing going on, and then the storytelling was just incredible in that match. And it's one of the best Fatal 4-Way matches ever. Ever. And yeah, Miz definitely benefited from having Cesaro and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the ring with him, but he also played his part to perfection. He stole the win at the last second, just like you expect a heel to do, and it pissed you off. So, I think Cesaro took the pinfall, if I remember correctly, but it was still just excellent match. I agree with Scales on that for my favorite one.
An honorary mention, if I may.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it in the heel promo of him. His Night of Champions match in September 19th of 2010 against Daniel Bryan, when Daniel Bryan was the rookie.
Yeah.
He was the pro. That probably stands the test of time in their rivalry. And I really enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah. So, he hasn't really... I guess he has had quite a few of these. He's kind of had a little bit of a roller coaster of a career also, kind of like Dolph Ziggler, but in different ways. So, if you were to think of one of the lowest points of The Miz's career, what kind of sticks out to you guys? Shadow?
Come back to me.
Scouts.
So I have two. The first one was at the very start of his career. He's undefeated. He's on his little mini run, and he loses to the Boogeyman in less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It kind of derailed him at the start of his career. Because I'm curious as to what would have happened if that never happened.
Right.
The second one is when he lost the U.S. Championship to Bret Hart in 2010.
Huh.
There was no need for that to happen.
I forgot about that.
And and that just, like, he was on such a roll. Everybody was getting behind him. Yes, he was the heel, obviously, and everybody hated him, but that's what made him great. And then that just, like, it put it to a screeching halt. And then it took him so long to build back up from that. Those two, to me, were the two lowest points of his career.
Okay. Shadow?
So, to me, considering the work he was doing around this time, was when he had to take a backseat to Roxy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the lowest, especially as the face of the company at the time. That's probably the lowest point you could hit.
Is that when, after he main evented WrestleMania, and then the next year he had a fight to get onto the card?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was like my next one thinking.
Yeah, that's a point for me.
So, my first thought that went through my head was the Zombie Lumberjack match. But I went back and watched it against Damien Priest. When I went back and watched it, it was actually kind of entertaining. And, yeah, it was stupid, beyond stupid, but we've seen so many stupid things in pro wrestling that who cares, you know? So, like, Miz, his antics in that match actually made it way better than it should have been. So I had to circle back and find something else, and I kind of just settled on his knee injury, because that's the only time he's really seen significant time off due to an injury. And the thing is, even when he was injured, he didn't really suffer for it. He was still on TV, but he wasn't in the ring, and obviously we want to see a guy like that in the ring. So that was my low point for him personally.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And for a guy,
I like how none of us are.
Yeah, sorry.
I like how none of us are really agreeing on these points.
Right, because there's so many different
Well,
there's no wrong answers.
Everybody looks at everything differently. Also,
That's exactly what I like about it.
like,
Um,
I think of those two losses as probably two of his bigger losses on his career, because those could have derailed everything, and he fought through it and actually just made him stronger on the other side of it.
Well, yeah, it's there's one promo that I watched from him that was in 2010 or 2009. It started backstage, and he was standing next to the locker room, and he was saying, "There was a time where I wasn't allowed to be in here because I ate a bag of chicken over a piece of chicken over a referee's bag and spilled like 2 crumbs in it. I was banned from the locker room for 6 months. I had to go change in the public bathrooms." And he starts walking through the arena and eventually comes out onto the ramp and starts talking more. And he's like, "I don't care what you people do to me back here. I will not quit." And back then we should have known that he was going to be as respected as he is now because of that. But
so the story was the referee's bag, but it happened to be JBL's bag.
Yeah, that was JBL's. I do remember that now.
In the promo, he says it was a referee's bag. Right. So I wonder if they maybe saying that
for his backstage bull.
Right, but then he called out JBL in his promo anyways. So
I do remember that now that Shadow mentioned that.
That's a promo I highly recommend watching also, because it was probably one of his first great promos.
There's just so many that you can go back and watch. You could just watch hours and hours of Miz promos and just be mesmerized by everything that you see.
Mesmerized.
There you go.
I would love to see, and I know Scals absolutely hates this man, but I would love to see a promo battle between MJF and The Miz.
And you stole what my dream thing was.
I think it would
Because
be
it
a
was,
really good.
to me, it wasn't a match. It was going to be a promo between them two, a promo battle.
I feel that. So, aside from dream matches, what would we like to continue? What would we like to see from the Miz in the future? Something new that we haven't seen. I mean, there's a lot of things. He's 42 years old, but he still is in great shape. He can still go and wrestle a 20-minute match any given night of the week. So like, he's not a guy that's getting gassed after 10 minutes.
I don't necessarily think something new from him, but he deserves another lengthy reign as the head.
As world?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's worked his ass off. He's brought relevancy back to the IC belt and has given you countless comedy moments, countless memorable moments. He's the one willing to work with a lot of these celebrities. Bad Bunny, Jake Paul, all them, or Logan Paul, excuse me. Like, how can you deny him one more opportunity? Because you know his career is coming to an end soon.
Probably.
He's not a young
right.
And he's got 2 young daughters at home, and I'm sure he wants pristine as it is now. And I think the longer he goes, it's not going to end well.
Right.
I think giving him, obviously not at this current moment, but before he's done, one more, maybe a 6 to 8 month reign.
I could see that. Scalps, what would you like to see from The Miz?
So swap that world title with the IC belt. Give him that and make him the person who held the belt the longest throughout the entire history of the belt. Because he is right now 18 days short of doing that, and he needs to get the next reign. Because I think right now he's tied. Chris Jericho right now has the most reigns at 9.
Yep.
His next reign would put him at 9 as well. It would tie him with Chris Jericho, and if you give him that lengthy reign there, it would put him at such a high number, no one else would be able to get to it.
So I kind of had the same thing also. I would love to see him. I would love to see him not only tie Jericho's record, but if he's going to be here for a few more years, I'd say break it. Be the first 10-time Intercontinental Champion. Because over the last 10, 12 years, nobody has defined that belt the way he has. Not Cody Rhodes, not Big E, not the Roman Reigns even. Like, nobody has defined that belt the way he has. Countless times he won the belt and plucked it out of obscurity and made it the most must-see thing on TV. Like, because he was the IC title holder for most of Brock Lesnar's reign, where he was never on TV. So he was the guy on TV putting on these matches every week, putting on promos, putting in feuds, busting his ass. And
that was in 2016, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it went from... Good. Sorry.
I would love to see him break Jericho's IC title record because he deserves to. I would love to see him break the record for most days spent as Intercontinental Champ, which currently is Pedro Morales, and he's only like 3 weeks shy of it.
He's 22 days. I'm actually looking it up right now for the history.
Jericho with 9 reigns only held the belt for like 311 days or 318 or something like that.
It's actually those two numbers. It's 318, but only 311 is recognized because of the tape delays.
Okay. So, like, what good is the IC title if you're holding it for a month at a time? That devalues it. How many times has The Miz held the title for 6-7 months? At least 4 that I could find. Like, he's put great runs into it. So I think he deserves that.
167, 169, 188. Let's see. Those were his 2 lengthy ones.
Yeah, he's got a couple of long ones in there. I mean,
and then he has...
He played us from a Zack Ryder Intercontinental title run. Thank you.
Then he has 85. Then he would have 49, 76. So he's had significant title runs with it.
Yes. And speaking of things The Miz deserves, I think we can all pretty much agree on this next one. Should he be in the Hall of Fame when he retires?
Yep.
Slam dunk, right?
No issues.
I mean, this is where I might polarize people. I think he's the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Simply because when other people wore it, Randy Savage, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, the belt had prestige. It was credible. When The Miz won it, most of the times it wasn't, and he made it that again. And that's why I think he's the best of all time for the IC title.
So,
Right. Miz bought the title from, oh, cool, it's just an Intercontinental title match, to, holy shit, it's an Intercontinental title match. Who's the Miz facing?
Right.
So
And I agree.
I will say that starting in 2014 is when it was losing its credibility and Miz started to bring it back. It probably had credibility all the way up until Cody Rhodes held the belt in 2011. When he lost it, it started to get flip-flopped around to people that I don't think deserved it.
Yep.
And that's what brought the credibility down.
And
I don't think...
I was going to say Wade Barrett is a guy who deserved to have that title, and he held it, I think, 4 or 5 times, but none of his title reigns were any good. They booked him like shit.
I don't think Miz deserves a Hall of Fame.
Really?
No, I'm fucking with you guys. He does, 100%.
I was going to say, there's no way that you would think a 2-time Grand Slam champion does not deserve the Hall of Fame.
Which, Seth Rollins is now the second 2-time Grand Slam champ winner.
Yeah, because he won the U.S. belt.
Yep. So, going to dream matches, what would we like to see him? I mean, anybody, any company, obviously alive or dead. What dream match would you have liked to see the Miz in?
So, like I said before, I didn't really have a match on there. I had a promo between him and MJF. That was my dream scenario. If I'm going to go with a match, though, it's kind of hard, because there's so many people that I think could actually have a good match with him, but it's who is he going to bring the best match out of, so to speak. I don't know. I really haven't given that much thought of who I can actually have in the match, because the first thing that popped in my head was him versus MJF in a promo battle.
And honestly, if it's given WWE constraints, I think Miz torches him. But if it doesn't have WWE constraints, I think it'd be pretty close. I think it'd be hard to figure out who's the best.
I agree.
And looking at my notes here, the thing I wrote is, obviously, a promo battle with MJF would be crazy. That's the first thing I wrote there on my notes. So yes, that was something I thought of too. But when it comes to matches, I would really like to see Miz and Morrison versus the Young Bucks in a tag match, for one. I think that would be a lot of fun. Miz could be the anchor for that match, because Morrison and then the Jacksons, they run all over the place. They're fast paced. Miz could kind of be like that anchor to help, the heel beatdown of the babyface Young Buck team. You know what I mean? And then another one that I thought of was Miz and Roddy Piper. I thought would be a fun match and fun feud. They were both stellar heels on the mic.
Oh, man, I miss Piper.
Miz and Piper, they had very similar in-ring styles too, so I would have liked it. And Shadow.
Miz and Darby Allin, I think.
You know what? You're probably right. Darby Allin is built a lot like Bad Bunny, really short and skinny.
Miz puts on great matches with guys a little bit smaller than him because, like I said, he's a ring general, so he allows them to control, in a sense, what they want to do. So having them hit all their high offensive moves, etc., Miz allows that to happen. Another one I'd like to see is Miz and Sting, but not current Sting.
WCW Crow Sting.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great match. And then touching on another one would be Razor Ramon and Miz.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
If you put it that way, it's got to be Miz versus Razor. Who is the greatest IC champ of all time? Because those are the 1 and 2 in my opinion. That's not counting Jericho's title reigns.
The number of title rings, in my opinion, does not automatically make you the best champion of all time.
Ric Flair is not the best world champion of all time. Yeah, he held it 17, 18 times. Yes, I
Yeah,
know only 16 count, but
Right.
he's not the greatest of all time.
I don't think he's even close.
No.
No.
Um,
Neither is Cena, in my opinion. A
Ba-
lot of those titles were just handed to him because they had nowhere else to go with that.
yeah.
That's another topic for another day.
Yeah, well, whenever we decide to tackle John Cena, we're going to be in here for a couple hours. Like, this is going to be a long
Um,
one.
Because there's a lot
That's
of
gonna
opinions
be-
on that.
Woo!
I was checking out the
Um,
AEW roster. I'm curious as to how Miz would be with Brian Pillman Jr.
I mean, if Pillman Jr. was pushed a little bit better, because he is really good, I think that would be interesting.
I think that
Also-
would be an interesting matchup.
Speaking on AEW, guys, Miz and Lance Archer, I feel like would be really fun. But I also really like Lance Archer. That's another topic for another time too. But
Yeah,
like,
I like him. I like him too. He's someone they should use more often than they do.
very misused. Yeah.
So is half the roster.
So I mean, talking about the Miz seemed actually a little straightforward. We all had very different opinions, but the thing is, with the Miz, there's so many different things to choose from that he's done. There's no wrong answers. We're not gonna. I mean, I say one thing, Shadow says one, Scal says another, and we're all like, good fucking point. Like, the Miz is one of the best to do it. I mean, he might not be the best, most flashy, or most decorated, but he's legitimately an icon of the pro wrestling industry, and I think he deserves his spot in the Hall of Fame. I think he deserves to be a headliner for whatever year he just gets inducted. So does anyone else have some final thoughts on the Miz?
Other than he's awesome. I don't know.
So, I took down everybody's ratings on what we thought based off of each category.
Right.
So, if I average together our three plus, what is that? Kane is the one that's in the chat. I don't want to say it wrong again.
Kane, yeah.
Okay. So for the in-ring, we averaged of 7.13. For promos, we averaged 9.75. For babyface, we averaged 3.63. For heel work, we averaged 9.6. And overall body work, we averaged 7.81.
I mean, yeah. That's doesn't
just
seem
thought-
far out. Pretty solid numbers aside from babyface work. But
I just thought that was pretty interesting, like, because he was the only one that participated in how we were voting, so I just figured I'd add his into ours.
Another thing before Shadow offers his final thoughts, if you have any. I highly recommend watching the IC title match from Raw 25, the 25th anniversary between him and Roman. The crowd was behind Miz the entire time, and he got a "You deserve it" chant when he won. And I thought that was huge because he was a heel. And, he might have benefited from people just hating Roman Reigns as much as they did back then, but yeah, it was still a cool moment because the crowd exploded when he won.
Yeah, it was also in Brooklyn, so that was the match that was in Brooklyn, not at the.
Yeah, I was at the Barclays Center, I think.
Yeah, not at the Manhattan Center.
Right. So, Shadow, any final thoughts on The Miz?
Not really. I mean, like I said, I've been watching him since I was a teenager, so I'm now full-ass a grown adult.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching him since 15, 14 years old.
Right.
And like this man consistently on my TV. Like, he's not been released for budget cuts. He's never barely not on TV. He has starred in some shitty movies, but he's still doing work.
He stays out of trouble. And I don't know if you've ever... I think we've had this discussion a couple times. On Miz and Missing, he gets to kind of be himself. He's fucking hilarious. He is a funny dude.
I mean, he married probably arguably one of the hottest females of that era.
Yes.
And she's Canadian, so, I'm
Canadian.
I'm all for that because she's Canadian. Miz is an honorary Canadian, in my opinion. So
It's so funny when they speak on the show and she's talking to Kate. He's trying to understand and he just nods. He's like, "Yep."
the repertoire him and Marjo have on Miz and Miz, like I just love it.
Right. So if anyone is watching this on TikTok right now, I'm gonna be posting this clip on TikTok. If you are watching on TikTok right now, hit my comments, hit the comments that are whatever is being posted. Let us know what AEW superstar you want to see us tackle next Thursday. Any AEW superstar is available for free game. We'll take whatever one we see the most, and we will do that. And we'll have an announcement for you guys, hopefully Monday, on who we're gonna work on. Shout out.
And you can't say Tony Khan because I don't want to deal with Tony Khan.
Yes, wrestlers only right now.
I will not host that one if that is what is picked.
It's Tony Khan. It'll just be an hour roast fest.
Yeah, because there will be nothing good said about him, and we actually want to enjoy what we do.
I feel like Cam got censored. I feel like it says giant balls. Am I right?
Yeah, Miz has got balls. You can't forget that.
Miz has gigantic balls. You know what? I'm gonna say this. There was that segment where Maurice got, I think it was their anniversary. It was like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Those big balls.
Yeah, with the giant balls and the fucking. That was funny as shit.
And Loomis popped them.
Yeah, and then so Maurice screwed up. She was supposed to fall face first into the cake, and she did. But they still just kept it going, and Loomis and Miz made that hilarious. And I don't care what you say.
She also had a nip slip in that segment.
Oh yeah.
And I like the fact that Gargano has brought that up with Loomis playing with Miz's balls.
God. So yeah, next week AEW Superstars. We'll go over the comments that we saw in here too. Don't worry, Kane. I see ya. Cam, I see ya.
I have them written down who they were suggesting.
And you'll probably see me post a clip of this tomorrow after Scals gets it on YouTube tonight. I'll probably post a clip of this tomorrow so that we can get it going on TikTok.
So, want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Nate, want to let them know where they can find you?
So, I'm going to go ahead and put my TikTok handle and whatnot in the comments. So, my personal is going to be the first one, and then our group page for the Wrestle Bros. Those are our TikTok handles right there. Ignore you, Nate. I'm not going to ignore you, Sammy. You've been in here the whole time. I don't remember. You said like 7 different people.
Yeah, I have them all written down. She had Moxley, Christian Cage, Paige, and Omega.
So 4. All good choices, too.
So,
Shadow, where can we find you?
You can find me right now currently in the TikTok jail.
Again?
Don't ask.
I get out in 2 days.
But, yeah, you can find me on TikTok at that guy Shadow91.
We also have a TikTok for the Off the Top, which I don't know if Shadow has been using lately or not. But,
The last video I did promoting this earned 700.
Nice.
You could find me on Twitch, which is where we are live now, Scouts24. We have the Off the Top channel on YouTube, and then I have an Off the Top Twitter account as well. So I'll be dropping those in the description of this video.
And Kane, don't worry, we got you, bud.
And want to thank everybody for coming out. Nate, always enjoy this. And Shadow, you my man. Glad you're here with us. Hope to see you guys again. Hope to see you guys again soon. Next week, same time, same channel. We'll be discussing an AEW wrestler. Hope to see you there. Peace out. Nice. That was a good show.
Very fluid conversation.